Hi, I'm Haley with Neuhaus Education Center. In this video, we are going to discuss starting the year off right with accurate and automatic reading instruction. AAR is designed to teach students about the structure of the English language so that they can become accurate and automatic readers with deep comprehension. In order for AAR to be successful campus-wide, sustainability is key. And this means that teachers can't start back at concept number 1 every year. They need to be building on what their students learned in the previous years. I know each campus has different circumstances that arise every year. You might have teacher turnover, you might have teachers changing positions, or you might even have high student mobility. However, it's imperative that you figure out your class of students where the majority of them ended up in their AAR instruction last year and build off of it this school year. So I think one of the best ways to do that is to have conversations with your colleagues. This year's second grade teachers speak with last year's first grade teachers. This year's first grade teachers speak with last year's kindergarten teachers. In these conversations, I hope that you'll discuss how far students made it in the curriculum last year and student mastery check data. This data will help you understand where you need to start this year, if there are any gaps in knowledge or if students mastered everything that they were introduced to last year. So while we're thinking about where to start your instruction for this school year, it's also important to think about, do the students need a review? And knowing that students have just gone through several months without any instruction, students probably will need a review of the key concepts and academic terms that they learned last year. So to help you all with this, we've come up with 3 sample beginning of the year review plans that we'd like to share that will hopefully help you kick your year off right. So we have one 3-week plan that goes through concepts 1 through 25. We have a 4-week plan that goes through concepts 1 through 50, and we have a 4-week plan that goes through concepts 1 through 91. You'll need to choose which plan is most appropriate based on your student's need. So let's go into one of these in a little bit in depth, and we'll show you what's on them. So here's our plan for 1 through 50. You'll see up here at the top, we have a brief description of each of the 3 components included on the plan, which is new concept, decks, and reading practice. You'll notice that we don't have anything written for read aloud or word profile. We hope that you'll just choose these activities and add this into your instruction based on student need. So here for new concept, you'll see that sometimes there might be 1 new concept for a day, sometimes there might be more than 1. So your new concept time might take a little bit longer than it does during a normal AAR routine. It's up to you and your student need if you'll need to go through the entire auditory visual discussion, and auditory visual discovery with your students for that new concept, or if it will suffice to just discuss with them the important ideas from that concept. Then we have our decks. Remember, there are 3 decks. You have your regular word deck, your irregular word deck, and your word part deck. You'll do your regular word deck every day, and you'll do the irregular word deck and the word part deck about every other day. If we're thinking about our new concepts, not every new concept is included in this review. Some concepts are left out because we don't think students will need a direct reminder of what they learned last year. But don't worry, this is a good thing, because even if some concepts are left out here, those concepts will be included in the decks. You'll still add those deck cards and spiral review through those concepts, so students will be reviewing those concepts even if it's not explicitly during the new concept introduction time. The 3rd column we have here is reading practice. There's a reading practice associated with each day. Sometimes there might be 2. If there are 2 reading practices listed, it would be my suggestion to just do a portion of each of those reading practices, maybe half of one and half of the other, for students to practice during reading practice time. And again, any concepts that aren't explicitly reviewed in your new concept time, you'll have a spiral review of during your reading practice time. Down here at the bottom, there's a note about mastery checks, and I want to talk about that for a minute. We don't want to ever assume that our students know anything. We want to base our instructional decisions on data. So down here, it's going to remind you that after you complete this review, to give the associated mastery check to make sure that your students don't need any further reteaching or review, and to make sure they have a firm foundation to move forward with instruction. So as you're going through this beginning of the year review, it is an accelerated pace with chunking of your concepts. So it will be a little bit different pacing than when you're getting back into normal instruction, but that's okay. We want to make sure that we can get as far in the curriculum as possible. Remember, we go as fast as we can, but as slow as we must. So during this beginning of the year time, it's a great time for you to go over instructional routines and procedures and make sure you've established all of those and have them in place with your students so that learning can move forward smoothly. You'll also want to be thinking about the materials you'll need. This might include counters or letter cards for some of the initial reading practices. You'll need a copy of each reading practice for your students as you go through the curriculum, and you'll also need all 3 of those decks that you'll be adding words to or adding cards to and accumulating as you go. It's important to give the mastery checks. Don't leave that out of your instructional time. If you need any more information about AAR, there are videos in the Hints from Haley section of the Neuhaus website going over all the different components of AAR, and you also have lots of information in your manual and your training materials. I hope you have a wonderful school year.